Are you somebody that doesn't have any credit score or an extremely low credit score to where your credit score almost doesn't exist? And we understand that there are some people in this particular economy that don't have any credit. I didn't have credit for a very long time because I didn't use credit cards and I never taken on a car loan until I got a car loan. And then once I paid that car loan off, now I currently had a credit history. And we're looking at this particular article. If you fit in that category of people, or you know somebody that may fit in that category of people, this article from the Wall Street Journal talks about how Citigroup joins this effort across the whole banking industry to lend to people without credit scores. And let's go ahead and get into this article real quick. So the bank is going to launch these 2 pilot programs under the Office of the Comptroller of the Currencies, Project REACH. And we're going to go into that project, or Roundtable for Economic Access and Change. And so one program will issue credit cards to people without credit scores, while the other will make it easier for small businesses owned by minorities, women, and veterans to get credit. So we talk about some of the banks that are going to be included, and we understand that 50 million Americans lack traditional credit scores, which banks typically require when reviewing applications for all manner of consumer debt. And we understand that we live in a credit-based economy. However, many people don't have credit scores because they may not choose to participate in that. They may not be able to qualify for certain things that allow them to build their credit, or they may not be informed on how to build their credit in a relatively inexpensive way to where you can get things like secured credit cards and build your credit up that way. And we also have a lot of people in our economy that are unbanked based on the amount of income that they bring in, also based on the fact that where they may live, where they may not have easy access to a corporate bank, right? Now, fintech is going to solve a lot of those problems. However, as of right now, we have people with these particular issues. It means they don't have a really, really thorough credit history, and therefore they're not able to get access to certain access to capital, access to certain banking products, and access to opportunities that exist for people that do have a credit history. Now, Citigroup is adding its account data to this particular mix of banks that are already included, and researchers have found that information on the applicant's income and spending habits are a good measure of credit worthiness as credit scores. And, we talked about this before, as to where how much money you make, your ability to pay in the past, whether or not you've been paying, and also sometimes your spending habits can show whether or not you are credit worthy. And credit worthy is very ambiguous. It's really based on situation to situation. There are a lot of people with a lot of money that have terrible credit scores. There are people that make way less than them that have better credit scores. It can depend. Also can depend on income. A lot of banks really don't look at your credit score as much if they figure out that you have the income, or they believe that you're going to have a future income coming in the future. We're talking about still a lot of times unsecured credit lines. So Project REACH is a part of a broader push in the banking industry to find ways to lend to a broader set of customers. Okay. Now, Bank of America is going to launch a pilot program in some cities to lend to minority home buyers with no minimum payments or minimum credit scores. We talked about that before, and it wasn't necessarily minority home buyers. The program doesn't specify that. It specifies to the area. Okay. And we also got to ask ourselves, how do we define a minority? What is their definition of the word minority? Because your definition and their definition could be different. This program's in the early stages. And in this particular environment that we're in, we currently have unusually low consumer loan defaults, the result of pandemic stimulus. But we're getting data to show that that's kind of turning around. But this is kind of prompting this program. I also think that because of the current administration that's in office now, they're getting a lot of push to roll these type of programs out. Some bankers say the loans issued through Project REACH, even though it's a really small sample size, are performing just as well as those issued outside the program. They expect the volume to increase in the incoming year. The Citigroup is also launching a pilot program in 20 branches in Los Angeles to funnel more loans to small businesses owned by women, minorities, and veterans. And to make this happen, the bank's going to lower its threshold for acceptable credit scores, and then also manipulate or tinker with the underwriting standards, which sometimes can be so strict it doesn't allow people to get access to this capital. So the bank has been testing ideas on how to reach more minority borrowers as part of its broader work on racial equity. Mr. Luchetti said, as a result, the bank stopped charging overdraft fees this year. The bank also changed some home loan requirements, like eliminating the need for mortgage insurance for some applicants. Now, there's going to be a lot of, in my opinion, knee-jerk reaction to this type of content, right? And one of the things I want you to understand, and we talked about on this particular page ad nauseum, because I really want people to understand this. Financial institutions don't take um, unhedged debt. Now, have they in the past? Yes. But financial institutions, when run managed properly, don't take unhedged debt. And what I mean by that is that they don't take a position in which they're not hedged against it. Okay. Only people that do that is consumers. And I've tried to get people when we were talking about the credit game. Like I said, I don't teach credit repair. I think the credit solutionist follows a YouTube channel. You can reach out to her. Erica Williams also has some solutions around your credit situation. However, what I try to get people to understand about credit is that the only reason unsecured credit markets exist is because of securitization markets, right? And therefore, you got to understand is that the banks don't take on an unhedged position. So they're not doing people a favor because they just want to do people a favor. There's a market for this securitized, for these tranches of credit. There's a market that exists, right? Because if the market didn't exist, they wouldn't be able to offer it to you. Because what the bank's not going to do is take on all the risk of offering somebody an unsecured credit line if they don't have a way to insure it or hedge their risk against it with something like swaps, right? And so this is why I try to get people to understand. So on the surface level, you're going to get you shouldn't get credit if you don't meet these particular credit scores, or you shouldn't get credit because you don't have this amount of income. And you have to see the market that exists for this. And so it's the market that exists for this that drives the desire to do it. Because if the banks felt like by offering these products to people, we would be taking on an unreasonable amount of risk, which would threaten our business model, they would drag their feet to do it. But they've been able to find buyers for these tranches of debt. Therefore, if we can find buyers for these tranches of debt, we can create a market around this debt. Then therefore, we can offer these products because on the back end, in the back office, there's a market for these tranches of debt. Why? Because currently right now, the default rates are lower, which means what? We don't have to pay high yields. You understand how this game works? And this is what I want people to understand. Now, what we're also going to do in this particular article is we're going to list the fact sheet for Project Reach. We're going to actually put the URL in there. It's a PDF, right? So you can read it so you don't have to guess about what it's about. And then also we're going to talk about the OCC, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. And like I said, I think a lot of these initiatives that we see currently going on, especially in the this particular initiative in the consumer side about consumer protections, especially in regard to credit reporting, or as a result of this administration. And this is why I tell people, it's not about the administration. It's really not about the political party. And I want to turn into a political conversation, but I'm going to say this real quick. We're going to get up on out of here. It's about, do you have an issue that you're pushing? Right? People that don't have issues worry about the political football team. The question is, do you have issues that you're pushing, and how can you get those issues solved? So if your issue is the fact that we don't like how credit reporting agencies disregard the safety of data, that's your issue, regardless of who's in the White House, right? When you don't have issues as a group, or you're waiting for somebody else to give you your issue, or this one person is going to be they're going to do all the issue work for you, and you're just going to sit back and watch TV all day, then you sit back and worry about the political football team. And in my opinion, these particular things are being pushed because they were political issues for certain groups of people, and they wanted to make sure that these particular things took place. And so I want to tell people that if you can benefit from these situations, I want to tell you to take advantage of it, because I'm definitely going to benefit from the fact that medical debt is going to be coming off the books at the top of the year, as long as it's under $500, and that's each account. I'm going to benefit from that. And I would encourage people with these changes based on credit, consumer reporting, things of that nature. If you can benefit from it, I want to encourage you to benefit from it, because it doesn't mean it's going to last forever, because for most of us, it's not an issue that our group was pushing, but it was the issue that another group was pushing that we're able to take advantage of. Hope you got some value from it. David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave. I'll talk to you later.